Hello, everybody. Hello, Andrea. Welcome to my sacred space. My name is Lauren Victoria. I'm a mental health therapist and intuitive energy worker, and I specialize in healing and wellness through the intersection of mental health and spirituality. And I have a really special guest with me today, Andrea, mind, body, soul. Can you tell us how you're feeling today?
Hi, everybody. I feel pretty good. I'm glad that we are finally on here. Yeah, I'm just so excited about this conversation and raising these vibrations with you and community.
Yeah, yeah. Let me explain who the Andrea Marie is, right? Who we have the privilege of being in community with today. Um, Andrea has been a life coach and aerial fitness instructor, performing and guiding women into more healthy and aligned version of themselves for over a decade. She embodies flow through life on and off of the pole. Okay, she combines her foundation in Western medicine, psychology, and yogic philosophy to help heal and transform the divine feminine. She's passionate about the healing power of psychosomatic education, consciousness reconditioning, and goddess alchemy. So tell us, Andrea, where can we find you online, first of all? I want to make sure people can get to you outside of this conversation.
So I am predominantly on Instagram at Andrea Mind Body Soul. It's all one word. So anytime I'm doing anything, that will be the primary place to find me. I'm on
Mm-hmm.
Twitter at Ann Mind Body Soul. I'm on YouTube, Andrea Mind Body Soul. I think they updated so now YouTube has handles. So it's Andrea Mind
Yeah.
Body Soul 4224. And then also, I have an email list, which should be linked at the bottom, or
Yeah.
you can email you are mind body soul at gmail.com. So I'm everywhere,
Yeah.
most places anyway.
Amazing. All those links, guys, all those links are in the description box, and including some special goodies that we'll be talking about also later in this interview. So you can just scroll down there and get right to it. Tell us otherwise, though, Andrea. You're telling us where you are and where we can find you on the internet. What about in real life? Where are you from? What was it like, growing up there?
Well, I am originally from South Florida, the dirty South, as they like
Right.
to call it. So I was born and raised in South Florida. I grew up in the hood, you guys. So like I came from a pretty disparaged background. You know, we weren't rich. We had our struggles.
Mhm.
Um, However, my mom, like, she kept me in the arts, and she invested a lot in my education. So while I was kind of in the ghettos of South Florida and everything that comes along with that, seeing
Mhm.
that culture, I also had the privilege of going to a Jewish school. So I went to a private Jewish school where I was able to get a really wonderful education. And, I came up in a very diverse background.
Yeah.
I had a lot of experience in the arts, so I played several instruments and was just always doing something. So even though, we were like slightly impoverished, I still was very fortunate to have a lot of exposure and to do a lot of different things. So that basically set, the frame for my life. And now I am in Connecticut. I'm over in
Mhm.
Connecticut, and that is by way of New York and Philly. So I've been a lot of places. I've had a lot of life to live.
Yeah. Well, that's a big transition from, Florida to the East Coast, being in Connecticut now. That's, I'm sure, quite a journey.
Yeah, and that is a story
Yeah.
with a lot of twists and turns. But yeah, yeah, it's been a ride.
Right. Maybe that could be a second interview where we should talking about
Seriously,
growing through life, travel,
seriously.
all of those things. But it's interesting you talk about having so many your hands in so many things and being exposed to a lot of diversity. We can see that in your background and healing modalities, right? So you're Reiki certified, yoga instructor, you do dance, aerial instructing, life coaching. What was your entry point into all these areas?
So my entry point into all of this, I actually have a pre-med interdisciplinary bachelor's degree.
Uh,
So when I was younger, my first exposure was to psychology. I was very interested in psychology and how
mhm.
the mind worked. I grew up around a lot of like mental health issues in my family and things like that. So my in my spirit, I always wanted to be a healer and to see how I can make improve other people's lives. And then I got into the biological sciences. So I have a combination of psychology with molecular and microbiology. So my
Oh, wow.
intentions, yeah. So I have like that really left brain scientific mind. My
Mhm.
intentions were to become a doctor. There was a lot of pressure on me and my family. You know, there's a lawyer, there's a diplomat in my
Oh,
family on
God.
my father's side, a lot of
Mhm.
successful people. So, you know, in my mind, I was going to be a doctor. And then towards the end of my undergraduate degree, I was actually taking chemistry. And at the time, I had just overcome some heartbreak. And what this did was it launched me into my own personal self discovery. And
Mm.
so my entry point spiritually was the chakras and the spiritual body and, you know, Eastern medicine after I had this Western foundation. So
Right.
I began to question things. You know, I started to look at myself and I started to look at my life in different ways. And I started to draw some parallels between science and spirituality.
Yeah.
And long story short, I had this complete identity shift and I decided that I didn't want to go to medical school. And
Wow.
this was my first dark night of the soul. I don't know
Mhm.
if y'all know what the dark night of the soul is, but that's when you have an ego death. Um, and so, like, I had to shift my identity out of
Yeah.
someone that wanted to be a doctor into someone that I didn't know who I was because I didn't have that fine template anymore to stick to. I was
Yeah.
breaking out on my own path. And so I ended up becoming a personal trainer. And then while I was doing that, I was coaching women. So then I started to focus on women. And then I
Yeah.
started to focus on goddess energy and then moved to Philly, got a certification. And it was like one certification after the other. And
Yeah.
just finding different ways of healing and helping and you know studying myself and leveling up in my own personal journey.
Hmm. You know, that's so beautiful. How really it starts within, right? So it's this journey of healing and finding yourself. And it sounds like almost immediately you begin to share that with community. It's like you can't help but to, support and empower and feed that back into the people around you.
Definitely, definitely,
Yeah.
it's like second nature.
Hmm. It's so funny too, Andrea. I come from a research background. I also majored in psychology, right? So I was very academic focused. So
Hmm.
not to get too much into me, right? But we have similar backgrounds, except I wasn't necessarily in as many activities and arts as I would have liked to be. So what I did was focus on school and I excelled in that. And I had this very one track mind of getting a PhD and just, being smart. Like that's being my
Yeah.
thing. And it is difficult, the dark night of the soul, going through that process of really breaking free of like what's been ordained for you or what the expectations based on your family, society, right? What you believe that you can be. It can be a really difficult and,
It
life
can be intense.
altering. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you were able to recognize that by bridging the two, right? What turned you away from the Western medicine and towards those more Eastern or spiritual practices so that you could do that?
Well, I was in emergency medicine. I worked as a doctor scribe for several years and I
Mhm.
just observed the medical system
Mhm.
and everything that was about from the pharmaceuticals to, you know, the money aspect of it and to the fact that many times doctors are really focused on solving the symptoms rather than the source of the
Mhm.
issue. And so I was really turned off by that system, and I wanted to find another way, so
Mhm.
then I got into nutrition and all of that. And it just kind of blossomed from there. I was like, what is my unique creative way of and approach to healing that solves issues on a layer that is deeper than
Yeah.
finding an external source to solve your problems. Like, how
Mhm.
can we be facilitators of our own healing?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's interesting because one thing that I've learned in therapy, like my field in as a therapist and in mental health, is that this is like one little sector of the healthcare system that is wellness based and not pathology based. Everything
Exactly.
else is about fixing a problem, right? And usually that problem is just, like you said, a symptom, a side effect, but we aren't necessarily as thorough about getting to the lifestyle changes, right? The energy that's at the base of the disease, right?
Yes, the
Diseases that
root of it.
manifest in the, yeah. So I know that, there's a lot of healing power. And again, being able to at least dance between both of those.
Yes,
um,
absolutely, because they both have a place.
yeah. Yeah. Did you ever feel like, an imposter kind of, especially, speaking of that identity shift and the ego death, like, was it ever difficult for you to really embrace and accept the role that you were now walking in?
Not really. I was just honestly doing me. I
Yeah.
mean, I've come from a lot of trauma. I had a tremendous amount of anxiety and depression.
Hmm.
I had suicidal ideations, and, I just focused on my own life path, my own personal journey, joy and fulfillment. I went through an entire weight loss journey, and
Wow.
people just started asking questions, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm on to something. And then I just started to codify everything, organize everything, and just share the answers to the questions that
Yeah.
people were asking me anyway.
Gotcha. Yeah, you were the living proof, right? You were the example, showing that, like, hey, these things work, and then people saw that healing on you, and they saw that growth on you,
Yes.
and they were
Yes.
inquiring. That's beautiful. I just want to give a shout out to Gail. Hello, she says hi, ladies. So happy to catch us at the gym.
Hi, Gail.
Right, pump that iron, baby. I
Yes, get
am
that
proud of
workout.
you for being in the gym in the first place. um, so back to you, Andrea. I am curious. What are you most, well known for in your community? Because you're a woman of many hats. What do you feel like resonates the most with your group?
Yes, I wear many hats and many heels. Let's put
Right.
it that way. So,
two to
if you
ten
go,
inch.
hmm, what'd you say?
I said 2 to 10 inch.
Right, right. Really, it's just like 7 to 10 nowadays. But but I'm most known for, being a pole dance aerial instructor.
Mhm.
Women, they come to my classes. I teach in Stamford, Connecticut, at a place called Empowered Aerial Fitness. So it
Mhm.
is all about that empowerment. And I'm most known for that. I'm most known for my sensual movement and just like existing in my body, being comfortable in my body. And I think that when a lot of women see that, it just kind of gives them permission to have that conversation with themselves, whether
Mhm.
it's on or off the pole. And I've been an instructor for a decade or maybe a little bit more now. And I've performed for Black Girls Pole. I've done many things, and that is the most visible thing that I'm known
Yeah.
for.
That's beautiful. And, as a fan of pole dance myself, it's absolutely so inspiring and motivating, as far as healing your own divine feminine and getting in touch with your, feelings of shame, releasing those things when you see other women, right? Much like you being so strong, flexible, right? Comfortable in your body and moving through power and moving through grace. um, it's really impressive. What do you feel like, out of your offerings? What do you feel like has made the largest impact on you?
Yes, I would love to share that. I'm not sure if you hear that in the background.
Yeah.
Can you
Is
hear?
that a fire alarm?
Yeah, let me check on that. I do not know what's going on. I'm sorry, y'all. I'll be right back.
No, no
It's in
worries.
my building.
No,
Hold on one
safety
second.
first.
Right? Hold on.
Which is, we'll get into that a little bit later too, looking at how we can embody flow on and off the pole.
Okay, I am back. I'm so sorry for that.
Oh, please, it's okay. We want to make sure the house, the home, the apartment,
Whew.
whatever, is not on fire.
Yeah, seriously. Can I just say that when you are getting together in these high vibrational spaces, like these things are inevitably
Yeah.
bound to happen. So I just, I do my prayer and my protection
Hmm.
energy. I put that protective energy on there and just hope for the best, but it's like it's something with the
Yeah.
way that this universe and the world is created where you just have to be aware when you are doing different things to raise the vibration of the planet that you just got to be equipped, you got to be ready.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Look, the technical difficulties today alone, we're on the cusp of we're the day before Mercury retrograde. It's
Yes,
eclipse season. Like it's a
it's a lot
very,
going
very
on.
high intense moment. Look, I'm just glad there's not an actual fire, so no
Yeah,
problem with
I'm like it's in the hallway somewhere. I don't think it's not a fire,
that.
so
Okay.
here we go.
Well, jumping right back into it, we're talking about you being most known for being an aerial instructor. I'm curious, of those hats, what do you feel like has been the most impactful on you, serving yourself?
The most impactful for me is being a life coach. I call it a goddess coach,
Hmm.
goddess coaching because I'm all about, raising the consciousness of divinity, raising our
Hmm.
awareness of our divinity.
Oh,
It's
Lord.
going off again.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to keep talking if it's not too disruptive.
Yeah, it's not a huge deal for me. Guys, if
Okay.
you're on the chat, can you let us know? She said, prepare for war. Yeah, it only makes us better and
You
only lets
stay
us know
ready so
how
you don't have
powerful
to
we
get
are.
ready. Exactly.
Exactly. Yeah.
So where were we? That is so distracting.
I know, I'm sure it is. You were talking about how being a goddess coach has impacted you so much.
Right. So being a goddess coach has been it's been the most impactful of
Hmm.
everything that I do because whenever you are holding space for other people's healing, you have to
Hmm.
be incredibly accountable for your own personal journey.
Oof.
I have to make sure that I practice what I preach.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are holding space for other people, you never know what is going to be triggered in yourself, what comes up for you. And
Yeah.
just being able to hold space for yourself as well as other people's development and growth. And,
Mm.
you know, my level of awareness and my practices have to constantly grow and expand with the level of space that I want to hold for women.
Yeah.
So that's been most impactful for me.
Yeah, you speak to such a beautiful dynamic of like we kind of mentioned, when you are growing and healing, there's kind of this natural tendency to pour outwards and be of service, but at the same time, once you can't treat somebody else better than you're treating you, you know,
Absolutely.
practicing
Absolutely.
what you're preaching is so important. So it's an act of accountability as well. You have to keep your heart full, and your
Yes.
energy up as a healer or someone who holds space for others to heal.
Absolutely.
Mm.
It's important.
Um, and that takes me to a lot of the work that we see. I don't know if you guys follow Andrea on Instagram. Do so, like she mentioned, Andrea Mind Body Soul. And if you go to her page, you'll see it's so beautifully curated with a lot of empowering. First of all, empowering movement. You can see her sensual and aerial dance practices there. But also, there's a lot of like affirmation, right? There's so much encouragement and empowerment. And we see a lot of her life coaching practice, like how they kind of blend together. So if you are on her page, you probably see that she says she works with consciousness reconditioning and goddess alchemy. So tell me, to the layperson, what are those and why do you use those points?
Beautiful. Well, so, in my life, for a very large majority of my life, I'm in my mid 30s now.
Mhm.
Throughout my adolescence, teenage years, and early adult, I was high level functioning with a lot of anxiety and
Mhm.
depression. And over time, I realized that it was because I was shrinking myself down to fit into all of these containers, these societal containers of perception of what
Mhm.
success looked like, what health looked like, what my life, what my career path, what my happiness,
Yeah.
what my truth should look like. And I had to recondition myself. So I've always been into fitness. So I'm really
Mhm.
into the term conditioning. I'm always conditioning.
Right.
We're always conditioning ourselves for whatever. So when it comes to reconditioning your consciousness, that is the process of allowing yourself to believe in your desires. Because a lot of the times we
Mm.
have these desires that are much larger than what we have been offered or
Mm.
what we are aware is available to us. And so we shrink ourselves down to ignore that we can believe that we can have this. So consciousness reconditioning is restructuring yourself on a deep cellular level so that
Yeah.
you can energetically and vibrationally be in alignment with what you feel is in your highest and your best without the filter of
Yeah.
society, without the filter of your parents, without the filter of drama and trauma. I
Mm.
meant to say trauma, but I said drama.
Look,
So
both of
both.
them.
um, and
Yeah.
goddess alchemy is about tapping into your sacred feminine energy, your
Yeah.
divinity. So divinity is when you allow yourself to transcend again the limitations of
Mhm.
what we perceive we have available to us. So when
Mhm.
you really start to refocus your energy into your personal sense of self-worth, what makes
Yeah.
you unique, your authentic voice, what you authentically came here to create, you tap
Mhm.
into your personal alchemy. And I'm an alchemist. I can
Mhm.
make anything. I can make anything from nothing because I came from from basically
Right.
nothing. And that is when you're able to transform and transcend and make this
Mhm.
reality look like what you want it to be based on your personal divine blueprint, based on your
Yeah.
personal feminine essence. And so that is what goddess alchemy is. It is using Mother Earth, Gaia, having respect for her, having respect that we are a reflection of her, and
Mhm.
allowing that to flow through the world
Mhm.
in a positive, impactful way.
Andrea, that was so beautiful. I'm throwing roses at your feet.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Andrea speaks to something that, I work with every day as in my life coaching and in therapy. And that's the importance of your mindset, right? Consciousness, which is what she's talking about, conditioning. So many of us come into the world and we move on these paths that were kind of forged by what our parents told us we could or couldn't do, what we believe we can or can't do, what our friends said, who does she think she is, or you could do more than that. And when we really get to the point of, usually it's some type of trauma. It's just the way that we learn things, right? But
Unfortunately,
sometimes we can embrace other people's lessons. But when that happens, we have an opportunity in the dark night of the soul to say, these scripts don't fit me anymore. Like this is holding me back, and I don't have to subscribe to this. Okay, well, if I disappoint my partner, if I disappoint my mom, if I disappoint, that person that I'm um, put so much priority about their perception of me and start living for myself, it's so powerful. That is what divinity, right? The sovereignty of just aligning with your true purpose in this universe looks like. And I'm so impressed that you found a way to do that with women, right? In a way that empowers their mind, body, and soul.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
um, so I'm curious too, right? In that sense, what has pole dance specifically and like sacred sensuality? What have they taught you about feminine energy and psychosomatic education?
Oh my gosh. So pole dance and sacred sensuality, they kind of feed one another because
Uh-oh.
when you are doing something
Oh
as
no, no,
bold.
no, I think we froze.
Oh,
Okay,
okay,
we're
we're
back.
back. We switched sides.
Right, hold on, let me see. I can think I can throw you back over there. Yeah, that was weird.
Oh my gosh,
Okay,
all
here
the
we go.
weird things today.
For
Okay.
real. Okay, you were
Yeah.
telling us
Okay.
about dance and sacred
Yes.
sensuality.
So being a pole dancer and doing something as bold as jumping on the pole, it will
Mm,
teach you a lot about your sacred sensual energy and vice versa. But
hmm.
pole dance has really allowed me to give myself permission to
Yeah.
express. Like being a part of that community has given me permission to express my sexual aspects, my sensual aspects. It's an arena where that is actually like venerated and it
Hmm.
is honored and it is an art, and the divine feminine essence itself is to be artistic, is to be creative. And having sacred sensuality as being a part of like my constitution in life, which is what I was born here to do, has
Yeah.
taught me a lot about overcoming my fears. you know because the sacred does not care about your fears. The sacred is the source. It is the source of our creation, and
Yeah.
there's nothing that can overwrite that. So when you
Mm.
allow yourself to be sacred, when you allow yourself to express your sensuality, it is just the
Mhm.
most liberating thing ever.
Yeah, I remember when I first started dancing, pole dancing. I held so much shame in my body,
Hmm.
and I grew up very religious. Christianity taught me that morality, modesty was really important. My mom was very devout. um Baggy clothes all the time, and like don't bend over, it's too suggestive, right?
Yeah.
And getting back on the pole gave me so much more of my body to take up space with. Like, first of all, just learning to be comfortable in my own movement, and then learning
Yes.
to be comfortable seeing myself move that way, and then learning to be comfortable sharing myself moving that way. It's so liberating, and can teach you a lot.
Yeah, it really can, because it's one thing to get on the pole or to, get on the floor and start moving in a sensual manner, and then to like have that as a part of your personal practice and just
Yeah.
enjoy that embodiment, right? And then there's another
Hmm.
thing to actually come back and then observe it, to observe yourself,
Yeah.
to allow yourself to be observed. Like
Mm.
it's two different journeys that you have to allow yourself to experience, especially as a woman. It's like the greatest gift that you
Yeah.
could give yourself.
Really, truly. Like,
Yes.
I've never been more impressed by myself than when I am flowing. And I'm like, damn girl, look at you.
Right.
Look at what you
It's
can
such a
do.
gift. It's such a gift.
Yeah. Well, tell us this, if you don't mind, Andrea. Why is it important, right? We're talking about divine feminine energy, goddess alchemy. Obviously, that's beneficial to us, but I'm wondering, why is it important to have balanced and healed feminine and masculine energy as women?
Yes, absolutely. And our journey through lives, we each are masculine and feminine. Like
Hmm.
those are just energies. They are not just something that we see on the surface as
Right.
an expression, but each of us are equipped with the masculine and the feminine energy. And on your
Absolutely.
journey, yeah, and as you're in your journey in life, whenever you're trying to create anything,
Mm.
you need both.
Yeah.
So for any idea to become something that's tangible in this reality, whether it is a child or whether it is a business or
Mhm.
any kind of creative endeavor, you need the vision,
Mhm.
the creative idea, and then you need the structure in order to make that come to fruition. So
Mhm.
they are both essential.
Yeah, the creative process. And I'm so glad you touched on the fact that we're not necessarily limited to gender, right? And that's another importance of divinity and transcending is learning that a lot of the structures that we live under, they're just ideas. They're man-made, just like, by a person like you and me.
Yep.
And we
Yep.
all have the ability to define our own reality. So in that, I love that you mentioned it's important to respect both, right? We don't want to lean too far into the feminine because that can become chaotic, right?
Hmm.
The depths of the ocean that we've never seen before, that we don't understand. But we also don't want to be too rigid, right? Leaning too far into the masculine. So in all things, balance ideally is key.
Yes.
And Andrea, I'm gonna get take 1 second. I need to change my mic out so I can
Take
put
your
my card
time.
in, and I'll be right back, y'all.
Take your time. Are you back? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. I'm going to change mine.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay.
All right, amazing. Um, so I'm curious. Then speaking on divine feminine energy, the importance of the balance, healing divine feminine energy is obviously really important. And
Hmm.
I know that you just completed your first publication. You're an
Yes.
author, and you wrote "Exploring Your Divine Feminine Potential," a playbook for the awakening goddess. We're going to get into that. And for you guys in the chat or watching the replay, the link to her book is in the description box below. Andrea, tell us what or who inspired you to make this playbook.
Okay, so I was inspired to create this playbook because, like I said, I come from a very scientific background,
Mhm.
and that left brain scientific structured, form of existence is very masculine. And before I learned how to be feminine, I was very masculine.
Mhm.
And I have a lot of respect for masculine energy and what I've been able to create in my life through masculine energy, such as discipline and focus and vision and structure. But when I discovered how to allow myself to exist in my feminine energy and embrace that, I was like, I really like, and then I started to embody that. I took a break from life and I started to embody that and dive into it and study it. I was like, I have to share this with everybody. So originally the book was created as a teaser just for clients that had, were asking me questions, just as a place where they could kind of go and get a little bit of information here and there. Just like it's meant to be an easy read, something that's enjoyable and that's supposed to strike curiosity and
Yeah.
intimacy within yourself.
Yeah, it sounds a lot like a bit of what you explained, your introduction, right, to spirituality, learning more about yourself, diving into you. It sounds like a guide to really just learn more about ourselves and
Yes.
kind of alchemize that more
Hmm.
feminine version of ourselves.
Yes, that's a great description.
Yeah. So, well, tell me who is the book made for, right? Who is the person or the people that you wrote this book for?
So this book is for women, and it's great for men too who love goddesses and who respect divine feminine energy, or who have daughters.
Yeah.
But it's for women that feel like they have to control everything in life,
Mm,
and it's wearing them out because you
yeah.
feel like you have to go through everything the hard, penetrative way. It's
Yeah.
about women that want to enhance their self worth. Um, as a woman, and start to get some embodiment practices for that, and
Mhm.
just who want to develop intimacy with themselves. There's 33 journaling exercises that are
Mhm.
thought provoking and activating on a subconscious level, and there are also 13 feminine embodiment practices as well, just so
Wow.
you can start to become devoted to your inner goddess. I call it being devoted. Like, it's a devotional practice to go through these self-care processes
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And goes right back to the point also that we mentioned earlier. When you are on this journey of healing yourself or trying to transcend past the cycles or the limitations maybe that you notice in your life, you have to be intentional about it. And like having those journal prompts there for you, having an embodiment practice or a ritual that's already set up, gives
Yes.
you that much more freedom to really just dive in. And I love that you've created that space for people.
Yes, definitely. Rituals. Everything is a ritual. We
Hmm.
wake up, we brush our teeth
Yeah.
in the morning, we put our clothes on. All of those habitual things become rituals when we put intention to them.
Absolutely. And when if you are somebody, because I've been very masculine, also I'm just learning in my late 20s, early 30s, how
Hmm.
to be in touch with the feminine, how to not try to control everything happening around me. And
Yeah.
when you are in that space, it it won't happen if you're not being intentional about it. You'll fall right back into it because that's a script. It's your second nature or first nature, and you can't just think yourself into and say, well, like I'll just change. I'll wake up tomorrow and I'll be different. No, you won't. Not if you
No,
don't make
yeah.
intentional changes and efforts to reflect. If you can't swallow your pride, right? If you can't humble yourself, your ego, not necessarily kill it, because I've
Hmm.
learned that ego is important. Ego is how we narrate our lives, right? Which is our story.
I love
It's
that. I love
useful.
that.
Yeah, it is a useful tool, but it can't be the highest level at which we operate because it has its flaws. It has its blind spots, and that's why also divinity and transcension is so important, because you have
Yes.
to recognize there's more to that. So with that, right, we love books like this, or and just healers like Andrea, who we're so happy to have on this on the podcast
I'm
interview
so
today.
grateful to be here.
Yeah, I love it.
And
Can you
I
share with
wanted to
go
say,
ahead.
sorry to cut you off, but like
No,
what you were saying, you can't just wake up and decide that, oh, this is like, like it's an automatic thing to change your behavior. That's why they have things like cognitive behavioral therapy, which I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of.
Hmm.
And that's why I call it consciousness reconditioning, because it's just like building a muscle. Like, if you
Yeah.
want to build a muscle, you need to be working on that muscle consistently
Yeah.
if you want to see growth. And when it comes to the way that we think about things, and allowing those to shift into behavioral patterns, that
Hmm.
is the difference between setting an intention. The start of the
Yeah.
pathway is setting an intention,
Hmm.
becoming devoted to the
Hmm.
reconditioning of those behaviors that you have, and then embodying them to the point where you don't have to think about it anymore. It just
Right.
becomes who you are, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And Atomic Habits, that's where
Such a good
that
book.
consistency is the most important thing. If you woke up tomorrow and ran a marathon, will have ran a marathon, like very impressive. Congratulations. But as opposed to waking up in the morning, right? And for the next year, you wake up in the morning and you run a mile. One of those is going to be a lot more transformative because one of those has become a lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? Versus a one off thing that you're doing. And as humans, honestly, especially as we get older, building habits and forming new thoughts of new patterns of thought and mindset, that's some of the most important work that we can do because as we get older, in psychology, our thoughts, like those boxes that we were learned that we learned that life goes into and that we go into and other people go into, they get more rigid. They become more concrete.
Mhm.
So, especially I think for women who are growing into this this age where we are even having these conversations, because when I was growing up nobody was talking about this.
Seriously, let's be honest now.
Yeah, this is, please, take these opportunities to be intentional about being flexible, right? Tapping into this
Yes.
energy that allows us to allow.
And that's what the divine feminine energy is at the end of the
Mhm.
day, and that is why I'm so passionate. I think that's another one of the reasons I wrote this book, is
Yeah.
because I'm so passionate about the liberation of the divine feminine energy and
Mm.
the feminine consciousness on this planet, because
Yeah.
everything that you just said, I feel like that there's a responsibility that women have
Mhm.
to the planet, to be dedicated to ourselves in that way,
Yeah.
and to break out of these shells and these beliefs, and to have these conversations, to have the courage to
Mhm.
want to be with ourselves, to have the courage to allow ourselves to be authentic, and
Yeah.
then to be authentic out loud, is
Yeah.
so essential right now for positive shifts in our world. It's
Yeah.
so important. It's so important, girl. I get so emotional when I
Goosebumps.
start to think about when I think about it. I'm like, we have to be out here.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I personally am very excited about just the zeitgeist, like the time that we're in right
Yes.
now. If anybody is into history, what you may know is that in many societies and civilizations that predate colonization, women were the standard, right? We were matriarchs as a society, and women were the closest to gods, right? There were priestesses, and they were
Yes.
directly linked to the divine. And I think that in doing this type of work, having these conversations, and just healing ourselves in these types of ways, we tap back, transcend, right? The society, the patriarchy, the colonization, all of that trauma that has happened on a timeline that is so much bigger than even in our 30s, right? So much bigger
Yes.
than us. It's tapping back into nature itself, right? And where we belong in this universe. So when we as women, I feel like, start to have these conversations where this becomes more of a priority, we have the opportunity to bring balance to the world, to
Yes.
nature in itself as we know it. And we've seen, I mean, hello, have we been looking around the past 3 years? We had a whole global pandemic. Everybody had to sit down and
Right?
be with their thoughts and think, go to therapy and notice who they were. Like, things were
Yes.
changing for sure. And I think that a lot of the industries and systems of society and life as we have known them, we're watching them shift. And if an entire government or empire that has been alive for 200 years, if that can crumble in front of our eyes, what can you do, right? What's the power that you have with just those thoughts? How can you
Yes.
crumble those and create new life? How can you transcend the behaviors of depression, anxiety? I still deal with those to this
Yes.
day, but because I have the connection to the spiritual, thank God, because I know that
Hmm.
I'm bigger than those things, I'm able to balance, right, to that point of the healed masculine and feminine energies. So y'all, this is work that's so important. Please don't skip it out. I know
Yes.
sometimes all of the spiritual talk and the divinity, I know it could get real woo woo. Like I have the conversations sometimes with people who aren't there. I see their eyes glaze over, but it's so important And I love that, I think you and I, we have this background in psychology, in
Yes.
biology and chemistry,
It's very
right?
grounded.
It's all the
It's
same
grounded.
thing, just a
Yep.
different language. It's all
Yes.
quantum physics, y'all. We're all just energy.
Yeah, and everything that you were talking about as far as, the development, um from an anthropological standpoint, from
Yes.
generations and generations, and starting with the oracles, which predates, Christianity and many
Yeah.
of these religions. A lot of people don't know that, but the interesting thing is that
Yeah.
we feel it, and there is a spiritual, there is a genetic memory that we have inside of all of us, which is why, I'm all about solutions. I
Yes.
have I have solutions for these things. I think that would be another a great second conversation for us to have, so maybe we need to come back and like
Yeah, for sure.
get into that.
I would love that. Yeah, looking at the new world that's ahead of
Yes.
us. Yeah.
And how it relates to the old world, the original world before the patriarchy.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Look.
Major key alerts.
Right.
Major.
Stay tuned for that, y'all. Andrea will
Yes.
be back. And in the meantime, tell me what is your favorite, journal prompt from your book, from your playbook, and why?
So my favorite journal prompt is number 31. Okay. So it's, how can you invite more ease into your life? Because a lot of times we're all running on this masculine paradigm where we have to go to work, meet deadlines and get things done. And when I allow myself to have set the intention of having ease in my life, my nervous system started to shift, my thoughts started to shift, my fear consciousness about different things, that were inherent in me, started to shift, and they started to heal. And there's a lot that I could say about why it's important to allow yourself to have more ease in your life, why, especially as a woman, it's important to allow yourself to have help.
Yeah.
I don't know where we develop this shame around allowing ourselves to be helped.
Yeah.
It's like we're not meant to have a struggle difficult life. So every day that I wake up, I'm like, how can I make this a little bit easier for myself? I make it a game. I make it a game, unless I'm going to the gym and I'm just like existing in my masculine energy, and I'm like, I just want to like,
Yeah.
I want to vibrate in that masculine energy. I'm like, I want this to be easy. I'm taking it easy. I'm chilling. Never ashamed to say I'm about to go take a nap.
Right. Literally.
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
game changer. I like a life of non-resistance. And that is how you invite your feminine energy to awaken.
oh no. Are we kicked out again?
I can see you still. I can hear you
We are.
happening.
Okay.
Oh, we're back. We're back.
We're back.
Okay, it was just brief. Good.
Yeah. Um, so, choosing ease is so important. And I think a huge, another point of that, like generational shifting that we're doing in like zeitgeist shift
Mm-hmm.
that we see right now. I talk to a lot of Black women in my practices. Um, and I tell them every day, because I had to learn this myself, for generations, our labor as Black women has been exploited in this country and
Yes.
in this world. So many of us have been conditioned into this expectation that life has to be hard. We have to grind, right? Rise and grind and be independent. And a lot of us were raised in broken homes. We saw our mothers do it alone, or we saw our
Yep.
grandmother do it alone, or struggling to do it. And a lot of us have internalized that struggle is our birthright. The struggle is our reality.
It's crazy. It's
And we
crazy.
can invent things to struggle. Even when things start to slow down, we just make up new problems.
Yep.
Right?
It's so true.
We
It's
get
so
used
true.
to it. So releasing that is really transcendental work,
Yes.
because
And
it
it's deep work.
normalizes it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's deep work. It needs to be, it's something that needs to be normalized. And that's one of the biggest reasons I made this book as well, is just to
Yeah.
normalize like being feminine. being
Yeah.
a woman, just all these things. What you're saying
Mhm.
is so true. It
Mhm.
is. It's
And
so
for
sad.
them, it is a sad reality. And you know how I test with many people to see if you have issues with your feminine is when you are resting, right, relaxing,
Hmm.
maybe watching TV, maybe just sitting still or wanting to take a nap, do you find yourself saying, no, I need to do this, and this instead, right? In
Hmm.
periods of rest or leisure, do you find yourself being guilty or feeling guilty or thinking of new things to do instead? If so, baby, we have a problem, right? We have a
Yes.
problem with rest. And I'm so glad you mentioned the nervous system. So much of that is tied to just how we're able to feel comfortable in our body. Because when we come from trauma or stress or a struggle, our nervous system also baselines there. And then what
Yep.
happens is that when you do find peace, your nervous system is like, what the hell is this? Where's the drama? I want the
Yep.
chaos back. So
Yep.
being intentional about finding rest, right? Being intentional with divine feminine playbooks about, recognizing the patterns so you can change them, is a beautiful
It really
way to
is.
start to get into it.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Uh, Tell us, on the other hand, what about your favorite feminine embodiment practice in the book?
Oh, this is a juicy one.
Yeah.
And it could be a little triggering for some people. My favorite embodiment practice is number 18, which is the dopamine detox. So, dopamine detox is something that I started to do before I even knew what a dopamine detox was. I started doing this in college, like I think shortly after college. And so, what that basically is when we restrict ourselves from, well, first of all, on a daily basis, we are exposed to a lot of things that make us feel good. So, we are addicted to
Yeah.
television, we're addicted to our screens. I heard you talking about this. We're addicted to processed, refined foods. We're addicted to relationships that make us feel good on just like that surface layer of things.
Right.
And so we are oversaturated with this feel good chemical. So
Mm-hmm.
what happens is when you detox off of that, or you either significantly cut back on those instantaneous hits of the feel good hormone dopamine and serotonin, then we are oversaturated with it. So when you cut back on it, you cut it out
Mm-hmm.
completely or you
Yeah.
significantly decrease it. What it does for your feminine energy is it allows you to actually feel yourself. You recalibrate what
Mm-hmm.
actual pleasure is for you. And feminine energy is all about like the pleasure, the sensation, the
Yes.
vibration of things. And if you don't know what that feels like without all of these shortcuts and these cheap hits of dopamine,
Right.
you are cut off from your actual pleasure. Like a lot of people watch way too much porn, things
Yeah.
like that. Like, what does it really feel like to be in your body without needing the blanket of anything else that
Yeah.
is going to give you a false sense of happiness, joy, and pleasure? And so I love that because when I dopamine detox, I find out what it's like. You get high in a way that is like better than anything that you could smoke or anything that you could drink, because your vibration
Yeah.
is elevated and you become intimate with yourself because you can't run from all of those things that you are typically ignoring or
Right.
pushing down or numbing yourself. You are feeling everything, and feminine energy is that raw life force, unfiltered, infinite energy that
Yeah.
a lot of people are afraid of. So the question is, do you have the courage to be with yourself? Embodying your feminine
Mm-hmm.
energy takes a lot of courage. And if we
Mm-hmm.
want men, now I'm like going on a tangent.
No, look, tell us. Give us the
And if
tea.
we want men to feel comfortable with, oh, I'm this and oh, I'm that, like, are you comfortable with yourself on that level? Are you
Yeah.
intimate with yourself? Are you running from yourself? Are you hiding from yourself? Are you filtering, numbing, all these things?
Yeah.
So you have to meet yourself at that intimate level before you can ask of that from a partner or from anyone else.
Definitely. So well said, Andrea, the importance of solitude to some extent, right? And that doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
isolation. There's a difference between solitude and isolation. Um, but it's really about being able to come back into your own energy because, I talk to a lot of people about this too. When we are watching TV and constantly online and constantly in community, be it virtual or real, with others, it's so easy to be distracted. And where
Yes.
it may feel like a band aid at the time, right? It's kind of like, getting high. You're in a fucked up situation, so you smoke some dope, right? You feel high 30 minutes, an hour, however long the high lasts, and then you sober up and you're in the same exact situation, right? The uh-oh, I think we lost Andrea. Oh, okay, there she is. Yeah. Uh-oh, I can't hear you. No. I'm gonna read a comment in the meantime. We had El Nicole mention she did not start feeling guilty or becoming anxious when she was resting until she started living with her husband. He was raised seeing very masculine roles with a woman in his life, and she needs to do this work. I'll show the next one. um, Needs to do this work as well to start the feminine grace with women in their lives. Otherwise, they create anxiety in women they love because they've never experienced true feminine energy. Ooh, Nicole, that is such an important point. Um, Hold on, let me check in on Andrea. No, I cannot hear you. Can you guys in the stream hear Andrea? Let us know. I think she's gonna leave and come back. Um, Nicole, this is such an important point, though. In the meantime, just like Andrea said earlier, it's kind of how it can become or feel like our duty. When we are able to show the world, us, especially as Black women, it's so important to show the world us resting in our feminine, right? To reverse, oh, there she is. To
Can you hear me?
reverse, yay, we hear you.
Thank goodness.
It's so important to show the world ourselves in our feminine as well, because that reverses the expectation and the conditioning of us being, superwoman, the strong Black woman trope. No, no, let your boyfriend, let your friends, let your husband see you cry, let them see you rest. Say
Yes.
no to them, right?
Yes.
Like, make boundaries so people also start to learn that our energy and our time is sacred. Nobody's entitled to us. We, we can offer. We give offerings to share, and of course, maybe we go on above and beyond with people that we love. But yes, allow people to normalize seeing you rest, seeing you exert boundaries, seeing you treat yourself like the goddess or gods, right? That you are.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that vulnerable. Was that about your friend or was that you? Do you know if it was her or her friend?
She said she didn't start feeling guilty, so I think it was about herself. But
Okay.
because her husband was raised seeing women so masculine, that expectation has showed up.
Yeah, and I
Um,
think it's a lot of that going on in our culture. And in a recent video that I put on YouTube, it's called Three Things I've Learned in 3 Years of Celibacy.
yeah.
And I talk about why it's important to like create that space for yourself and, vibrational energy and things like that. I definitely think that the book will help with that. And setting some vibrational, energetic boundaries with that, not being
Mhm.
afraid to rest and all these things, everything that Lauren was mentioning.
Mhm.
Which is
And
important.
I know you're married, so it could be a bigger adjustment, especially depending on how long he's known you, how long those expectations have been there. But no, it's never too late to to change your standards, to change your way of living, and in a healthy relationship. your partner is going to grow with you, right? It won't be something that tears you guys apart. And there's compromise, on both ends.
Yeah, and in the book, there's actually a chapter that's called "Feminine Leadership in Relationships," and
Mm-hmm.
it shows you how to indirectly set the tone for your relationship without even having to have a conversation with your
Hello.
husband. When you become fully dedicated to yourself and your consciousness is shifted to a place where you're embodying your
Yeah.
truth, you don't have to explain anything to anybody. Trust
Hello.
me.
Look, period. I've seen it. I've been a witness to it in recent years, changing my life, and it's beautiful because, again, when you work on this energy on the inside and you're dedicated to it and you're really aligned with it, your environment has no choice but to show up there, right? And you choose whether or not you allow something, um I don't want to say beneath you, but like something else, something different. It's all your choice. But 9 times out of 10, you will have a reflection of yourself in all of your opportunities, or you should be paying attention to the ones that are reflections of yourself. And relationship and opportunity and career, education, whatever those realms may be. And we've all seen that. You ever seen somebody walk into a room, and they're so happy? They're just so like graceful and so proud. You start sitting up taller. You like, hold on.
It's
I want to feel.
contagious.
I feel that.
It's contagious.
Absolutely.
Energy is contagious, baby.
Yes, and you can tap into your divine feminine energy again with Andrea's Divine Feminine Playbook. Andrea Marie and all of her offerings, her links are in the description box below. Can you remind us, though, Andrea, where we can find you online and where people who want to work with you can find you?
Yes. So the quickest way to reach me is Instagram, Andrea Mind Body Soul. There's a link in my bio with my link tree that has everything: the email list, my YouTube, which is also Andrea Mind Body Soul, Twitter, and Mind Body Soul, and a link to get on the email list where I share exclusive information and guidance is going to be linked below as well. And then when you get on the email list, I'll send a link for how you can schedule like a call with me. And then I'm also always tagging where to find the book on Amazon. So
Right.
that's also pretty easy to find too.
Amazing. Andrea, what should we be on the lookout for from you in the future besides another
Beautiful.
conscious conversation?
Right? Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So I am working on releasing videos weekly on YouTube, and if you get on my email list, you'll have direct links to those weekly. And also, I'm going to start running some courses again, which I'm so excited about. So the next course, the first course I'm actually running is going to be a mind, body, soul detox, and that is going to be live in 2 weeks. I'm going to host the launch of the course. Is going to be live, and then I'm going to evergreen the content, and people will be able to purchase that content in the future
Oh, nice.
indefinitely. So I will show you exactly how I detox. I'll share my menu plans with you. I'll share like the nutritional information, the consciousness information about how you detox, like spiritually, mentally. That's going to be in 2 weeks on the full moon. And if you join my email list, you'll get more information on that.
Yeah, that sounds so amazing. Y'all, she's literally holding our hands through this process. Okay. All the
That is
links
the goal.
are
And
down below.
we're all on this journey together. If we're
Yeah.
not doing it together, then what are we doing? Which is why I'm so grateful that you had me on this podcast, Lauren. Like,
Yeah.
I appreciate just sharing this space with you. It has been so uplifting, and thank you for everything that you're doing and sharing your voice and sharing your truth. It's so powerful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Honestly, it's an honor to have you here. And, I'm just praying and hoping that this message, like these conversations reach the people that they need to. And if
Yes.
you're here watching the live, watching the playback, share this with somebody who can benefit from this divine feminine energy alignment and embodiment. And yeah, you can catch me online, guys, at thehighestpriestess.com. I offer tarot readings. I offer therapy if you live in Illinois, virtual therapy. And I also do astrology readings, astrocartography. So visit my website, and you guys, we will be in another conversation sometime soon for sure. Look out for that.
Definitely, definitely. I
Um,
can't wait. I'm so excited to be start at the start of our journey together too. I'm
yeah,
can't wait to get my astrocartography reading from you
yes.
as well. I'm definitely ready for that.
Yeah. Well, let me know, you guys, if you want to see more conversations, if you have more suggestions specifically for Andrea to come back on, or if you have any other people that you would like to see me interview, there's a link in the description box as well. And yeah, you guys, we're all on the internet. Hopefully, we see each other soon. Thank you, El Nicole,
Thank
for showing
you.
up. And I hope you guys all have a beautiful eclipse and new moon.
Have a safe eclipse. Have a safe
Right.
Mercury retrograde.
Yeah, yeah. Use your energy wisely,
Yes.
guys. Bye, everyone.